Love, Simon review. This film's been out for like 3 months at this point. Not in this country. Not in this country. Welcome back to Neverland, where today I'll be reviewing Love, Simon, which, yes, for a lot of you will probably not really make a lot of sense anymore since the film's been out for ages. But in this beautiful no man's land that I call my home at the moment, not for very long though, 44 days left, it's only coming out this month. And for the longest time I was like, that's such a random release date, because actually large parts of Europe are actually only releasing this film now, but then I realised it's June, which is Pride Month, so I guess it does make sense. Love, Simon is a film directed by Greg Berlanti, who you might know from various CW shows, and it's actually based on a novel called Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda. I've never actually read the novel, but now I feel really inclined to do so because the film is absolutely amazing. So usually when I go to press screenings, I usually have everything prepared already. Like, I always need to take notes. I use the notes on my phone. I obviously put it on low light so I don't disturb anyone. And like, I already have a couple of points that I always know I'm going to be ranting about. I hardly ever like anything about any film. So needless to say, I was really surprised when I didn't really get to take my phone out during the film, because I was just so immersed, because that is how good this film is. You start with the beginning that's maybe slightly misleading, because you think, oh, this is kind of just another mundane teenage flick, just it happens to be about a gay boy. So you just kind of, you go along with it and you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, I'll sit through it. But then towards the end of the first act, they kind of repeat the beginning in a way, and you're like, oh, that's why they did it in that way. And you're like, this is actually really cool. I'm hooked. I wanna see what's happening. And then you just kind of dive into the proper story, because at that point, I mean, something that's probably generally known is that Simon, who is gay, but hasn't come out yet to anyone, stumbles upon this other boy in his school who is also gay and starts talking to him, but both don't know each other's identities. And you'd think that's already enough drama for a film, like for a teenage film. You're like, okay, this is very dramatic, like, I'm hooked. But then it kind of gets even crazier when a boy from his theatre troupe kind of finds out and essentially blackmails him to get to one of Simon's best friends. It sounds, so when you say it like this, it doesn't sound that cool. It's like, yeah, it's just another teenage flick. Like, someone finds out some juicy secret about someone else, and then they blackmail them. And it's like, yeah, okay, we've seen that on Disney Channel, but it's not the same, trust me. The story is so well balanced and so well structured and absolutely bulletproof. You always feel that there's never, I mean, you have highs that really elevate you, you have lows that like really punch you in the gut, but there's always a flow. There's no like point in the film where you're like, you know, where you have to sit through, because that often happens with me in films. There's always a point where I'm like, okay, I'm not paying attention anymore till something important happens. But this just doesn't happen in this film. Everything is somehow important to the story, while at the same time you don't feel overloaded by information. That is just really good. Really the only thing in terms of story and general story structure I would maybe criticize is the ending, or rather the climax, which has such a great build-up throughout the film that you kind of expect fireworks, and like, you get some of that, but it's really short and over way too soon, and you're like, oh, I wanted a bit more of that. I really wanted you to revel in this moment, because essentially what happens is that the identity of Simon's like pen pal is revealed, and it just doesn't punch you enough, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, this is cool, but like, just let me linger in this for a second, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's over too quickly, and they should have just really gone 100% and not just like 70. But in terms of story, that's really the only bit of criticism I have, which is insane, because I always hate everything. And I think one big reason that makes the film so great and such a wonder to behold are actually the characters, which brings me to my next point, the characters. all characters are like beautifully complex, and I love me some complex characters. And I think that there have been a lot of films lately where people are like, oh, characters are getting more and more complex. But I feel like they never truly do. It's like, yeah, they're not just bad, but also sometimes good, but that doesn't make them complex necessarily. But in Love, Simon, they just fully embraced that. And I really like that. I think especially, I mean, obviously, especially Nick Robinson's Simon is great at that. You think he's very understated and nuanced in his performance. He is. But you can always tell something is not completely right with Simon. He's like happy, but you can tell something is off. And then he has his coming out, and his mother says something really interesting to him, which is, in the past few years, you've never really... I knew you had a secret because you've never really 100% been able to be yourself, and there was always something off, and you go back in the film and you're like, oh my god, like he portrayed that, like you got it. You got that struggle. And generally, the way that he portrays teenagehood, I think, is very relatable. Like, you're happy, but there's always some kind of source of anxiety and sadness. I mean, maybe that was just my teenagehood. And I'm not homosexual, so that is a whole another kind of experience that I've never even really accessed. And so I can't really speak to whether he portrayed that well or not. But I thought Nick Robinson's like portrayal of Simon as a teenager was absolutely great. And in general, I really loved his family. What was so interesting about his family was that they were this picture perfect version of a family. I mean, all of their movie nights, their Christmas, it was all so beautiful, and you always got a bit jealous. It was like, I want that, you know, like I want to live in a house like this with like cool parents like this. In terms of school friends and like people Simon interacted with at school, I really want to point out Logan Miller's Martin, so kind of the nice guy, very bound to usual masculinity person that blackmails him from his theatre group. And I want to point him out specifically because I think his character was really well done. He's built up as the antagonist, and you see him, and especially as like a feminist, you're like, oh, who's that trash guy? Like, why do I have to see him so much on screen? But they make his and his relationship to Simon this really interesting part of the story, where you can tell that Simon is really fed up for all the right reasons, and you totally get it. But then you realize that that boy is just a boy. He's just a human who likes this girl, and he's definitely not using the right means to get where he wants to get. But you could also see his human side, and I thought that was so great, because film like this that is very liberal, very leftish, could have very easily fallen into that trap and just vilified that person, but they didn't. They made him a complex human who gets to redeem himself to an extent, and I think that's great. Because especially in today's society, where we have these two fronts, I guess, and the front that I'm on kind of expects the other one to just like step up and be better, we can't really expect that without creating stories where they can in fact get better. So it's nice that for a change that was the case, that he was allowed to like step up and be a better person and realize his mistakes, and I think that was really good. The only letdown in terms of characters were maybe Simon's friends. I mean, they were cool, but still, there were like certain character arcs that I thought didn't end the way they could have or should have, and that was a bit sad. But other than that, I mean, again, this is like one of 2 points of criticism I have, and that's it. Like, the film is so awesome. I cried the entire time through. It's just that good. And apart from that, there's not really that much to say. I do want to specifically point out the production design that kind of really helped making you really jealous of Simon's life to an extent. I mean, obviously not with the struggle he has, but like with the rest of his life, that just looked so beautiful. Also, a special shout out to the Potter references that I absolutely loved. Simon was a Hufflepuff. I really liked that. And more than anything, I think this was just such an authentic film. you could I could really relate to Simon's teenage experience. Like, it felt a lot like mine, even though it's been more or less 7 years now since I was a teenager. And more importantly, it like had a look at youth culture today without vilifying it. I think there's I've seen so many films recently that portray today's youth culture and were like, oh, those kids on their phones, they never pay attention, which is obviously not the case. And which is always so stupid when I see that, because I'm like, you're literally making a film for today's youth. Why would you do that? But they didn't, and that was so great. As you can see, I cannot say enough good things about Love, Simon. It's just that good a film. I know that in the US, box office wasn't that great. Now it's being released in Europe, and in terms of Europe's audience and its openness, doesn't really look like it's gonna be like do that well either. I mean, if you have a look at Black Panther and Wonder Woman, who obviously did well and on another level, but never as well as the US, with like a female lead, black leads, it makes you wonder how this film is gonna do. But to be honest, if there was ever a film that really needed support, not just in terms of subject matter, although the subject matter is like super important, but also in terms of just a well-crafted film that should be seen by everyone, then it was this one. Like, it's just, take everyone you know, go and see it. I'm gonna take my friends, I'm gonna take my younger sister, everyone needs to see it. And yeah, let's just support this amazing film, which has such an important cause at its heart, but at the same time is so beautifully crafted and such a gift to the LGBTQ community, I think. Let me know if you've seen Love, Simon yet, wherever you are. Where's it released? If you've seen it, what did you like? When are you gonna see it? If you haven't seen it yet, let me know. As always, you can like the video if you liked it. You can subscribe if you want to see more of me in children's entertainment. You can follow me on Twitter or on Tumblr for regular updates on my videos and children's and media in general. Blah, blah, blah. And thank you so much for watching. Bye. I'm so sweaty today.